Yo, what's good, my brothers and sisters? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You already know who it is. This is Marty representing DU, Direct and Unfiltered. Should have been a long time ago, but it's a long time coming. But we're here now. Before we begin, yo, I just want to introduce you my business partner. He's gonna be telling you what's going on, what's happening, give you some guys advice. You let him know what you do out here, man.
Hey, what's good, guys? It's the host, Dumbo, coming back with a constructive dialogue, helping you to understand the world and even more importantly, yourself. So glad to be back. The fall is in season.
Oh yeah.
I feel like this fall is like hitting a refresh button for me. Just personally, I think this past season I've been through it. Um, the devil's been coming up against me. Evil's been coming up against me. Narcissistic people coming up against me, and I feel like I'm finally getting back in a rhythm to the place in my life where I'm not distracted anymore, And I think, oh, my fault, I'm probably talking a little too. I think it's been, I don't know why this past week I've been just getting so consistent back into the routine and schedule and the discipline that I feel like I had. And after living with someone who was so indisciplined for so long, I feel like it was starting to rub off on me, and my standard was getting a little lower. I was getting like a little bit less like focused on my goals and my mission. And when you're dealing with shit on a personal level, like I was, it kind of clouds your judgment and it makes you less goal focused or goal oriented. I was losing sight of what I wanted for my future. And I gotta say, I'm feeling a lot better. I feel like my goal is in clear sight right now, and I know the direction I need to head in to achieve it. And so I'm
And
excited to get back.
always, I think the perfect title for this would be the importance of being a spiritual leader is being aware of, what's negative and positive, right? And obviously he had to go through the negative parts first for him to realize it, even though he was trying to, make it work, but it wasn't working because of so much going on and his energy was being drained. I think the title would be the importance of being a spiritual leader is knowing your surroundings, right? Having the understanding of where you're at in the meantime. Sometimes, God will put you on a spot for a season to, test your spiritual, uh, um, 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 being a leader, because being a spiritual leader is pretty much, it's you can't something you can't grasp, right? You can't. It has to be within you, right? It has to be something that you were born with it. It's like, it's like talent. I don't really believe in talent. I believe hard work. What makes you better on certain areas of what you are going to go for, or the goals that you got going on, or even even like the thing that you're chasing, right? Thing you're pursuing and trying to accomplish. And I believe that the importance of being a spiritual leader is where knowing that you are in a season so that it can teach you. Obviously, you grow out of it. You seem to understand, and I mean it's everywhere, guys. You gotta understand. Being around somebody who's not, especially living with somebody for that long. I think you were living for 2 years,
No,
right?
just one.
Just one year. I mean, I had to go through my when I was young to live with somebody, and it was just so negative to a point where I couldn't get my point across. I couldn't even be able to speak for myself. It's like I was, you know, it- it's crazy how I hold so much in because they don't even understand that
Mm.
I had so much to say when I was living with this person. But it was, I know my heart was like, just don't say anything. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? There's something better gonna come, right? And having faith and being a spiritual leader, for me, honestly, I had to go through this similar thing years ago, right before, I have a family. It was just to a point where my energy was draining, dude. Like it was to a
Yeah.
point where I couldn't even speak up, and it was bugging me, right? And I was building up anger and hatred and bitterness in my heart. I was like, where am I? It's because the person that I was living with me, and I realized that it's not. And then I noticed I was getting short with other people who wasn't even trying to, wasn't even making me upset. Is because the energy that was being put on me, and that energy I had to put, and I was putting on somebody else, because that person was just so negative, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was just to a point where I couldn't even think straight. Right? I had to distance myself from family and friends and people that I was really close to, and some of the people I was close to, it didn't work out because I was just so distant. Right? I was angry for no reason because of that one person. I think you need to understand the importance of knowing or being aware of your surrounding, understand where you're at, understand like, okay, is this even gonna bring me any peace? Because as a man, we all need peace, right? Even if in a relationship, even if we are on chasing our goals or pursuing some, peace is very important to a man, you know. Um, so the importance of being a spiritual leader. What do you think? You think this would be a good title, man?
Yeah, this is a great topic. No, what you said too, like you need to be able to recognize when you're in a season that God's trying to use to make you even a even better leader. And then what you said too, like you can't get your point across, bro. That like almost that like triggered me or like resonated with me because there was something in me the whole time that was had this spirit of like just hold your tongue,
Mm,
because I knew I'm trying to explain myself, and I do a podcast. I talk. I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. I'm in a position where I need to explain high level strategy, high level concepts to people and break them down. So I know I can speak clearly, and I know I can get my point across well. And the thing that frustrated me is no matter how clearly I would speak, no matter how concise what I would say, it's like I could not you couldn't land on you. It's almost like you didn't want to understand me, and that's the thing that was so frustrating because after a certain point, it begs the question: okay, why don't you want to understand me? And it's almost like you're intentionally trying to frustrate me, and that's what was kind of getting at me. And knowing I could have gone petty, knowing that I could have honestly, because I'm not going to speak so in depth of the situation, it doesn't call for that. But knowing that I could have really pulled out some low level insults, some really disrespectful things, and said some really hurtful things to somebody, and I didn't, really reassures me that even it you have to think like when you're in down and out, one thing that will tell you if you are poised to be a good leader or not is when you're being attacked, are you attacking back? You know, if you're in a leadership position, you're going to be under attack and you're the head of the ship. So you're going to be taking the brunt of the attack. You can't be leading a team and then just be wayfully attacking or be like so like throw caution to the wind and be so crazy and violent and extremely aggressive out of nowhere, like going combative. You need to be disciplined and have a game plan. You can't just be reactive to whatever is coming at you and whatever people are saying, whatever people are doing, because eventually you're gonna happen, you're gonna get your team killed. Like imagine you're in the Marines and your leader is really trigger happy, jumps into situations without thinking. He's that kind of crazy type who just loves to get into violence and loves to brawl, loves to tussle with people. If that's your leader and you're following him, you have no idea what his next plan is because he's a wild card. What's going to end up happening is he's going to get his team killed because he's not advising them well, but also he's so reactive that he's going to get caught in a trap. You know, what ends up happening is you get caught in a trap if you start reacting, if you start insulting, if you start going for that low, kind of like the low road of trying to hurt someone because they hurt you. And I can't lie, this season I was like close. It was the closest I've been in years to getting like petty and to getting personal and getting, because I really don't personally insult anybody. And one quality of leadership and one quality of a good character is that even when people personally insult you, you don't make it personal back to them. You forgive them, recognize what they're doing, and just move forward. A leader, someone who is meant to be a spiritual leader will never have it in them to truly personally drag down someone, to truly be like, oh, you're this, you're that, you're this insecure because you're doing this and this, bro. It doesn't help anyone to like break them down or to give them open up old wounds or do stuff like that. It doesn't help heal the world doing that, even when they're trying to do it to you. You
Yeah,
know,
being spiritual leader, guys. And like I hate talking about pastors. I really do. People who are in the church, because they are not spiritual leaders at all.
oh, that's a great
You
direction to
know,
take. Yeah,
you,
jeez.
it's just because I've noticed that so many um pastors and leaders in the church, they really don't know how to lead. They're only leading with you know money in the pockets, trying to get somebody to pay their bills, driving Mercedes. But beside all that, I just like I say, I'm not I don't like talking like negativity behind people's back, but I've ex- during my experience of visiting too many churches in my life, I've noticed that some pastors who just don't like a certain, especially me, like I've been through a lot when it comes to pastors, right? Because of my character and my demeanor and being honest, or I'm a very straight, I pretty much honest. I'm like straightforward. I pretty much give you, like I'm just straightforward. Like I'm just gonna let people know like what I'm thinking, or I know I'm gonna know what's wrong. I'm gonna know, hey, what can be fixed. I truly believe that spiritual leaders need to able to accept criticism, and I've noticed that in most churches they don't know how to accept criticism, and because they bash you for it, right? They out you being outcast because of you having opinions. Be like, hey, maybe I didn't like the way you preached today, or maybe you shouldn't go about talking to this person so much, because I believe a spiritual leader, especially in the church, right? You should be able to help people to you should be able to help people to understand, like, hey, what's going on in the outside world? How could they be better at it, right? How could they be prevent from whatever's going on in the outside world? How could you overcome what's happening, right? Because I truly believe when it comes to pastors and leaders, they always focus on one thing, and that thing is judging, right? Judging somebody or judging a book without trying to understand, without try, without even reading the whole chapter. And I truly believe when it comes to pastors and leaders, especially when they get, I know that I've seen a couple of pastors who get upset and pissed off when they get in criticism, when somebody come up like, hey man, I didn't like the way your leader's leading a whole group. I've been in the church where I was on a youth, not on a youth group, but I was on a deacon board. I was a deacon, right, in the church one time, and it was just to a point where there was too many people just saying so many fake so fake shit, bro. Like, they're not being real, they're not being straightforward, they're not being honest. It's like, yo, you gotta let people, you gotta tell them the truth. I'm like, yo, you messing up, bro. It's okay to tell them that, bro. Because if you don't tell people if they're messing up, how they gonna be better at for themselves? It's like be pastors and leaders, they don't want us to be better. It's the same thing when you're going to work. It's the same thing when you're at work. They don't want you to be they don't want you to be better. They don't want you to just stay. Dude, it's like everywhere I go, it's like they want you to be dumb, clueless, and then they want to control you. I've seen that in churches. It's like all the congregation. I've been to churches, guys. All the congregation listen to pastor, literally like idolizing this pastor and this leader. Right? It's like, bro, I didn't come to church to praise and idolize a pastor. He's a human being. What he's gonna do for me? The only thing a pastor and leader should do is they should be able to they should be preaching the gospel, not be able to like tell me what's, hey, guys, there's one person who hurt me, is I'm just gonna be able to prove with this person, and then it's just so, they're just talking about some bullshit. Like, I don't want to go into a tangent about one pastor. I'm just saying there is no spiritual leader in the church. It's because being spiritual leader, you have to be anointed. You have to have a gift from God to be, so that you can be able to lead a group of people. If you're leading them into the destruction, they're not gonna be able to be better That's the reason why you gotta be careful when you go to some churches. And I've noticed that some churches they only lead us into hell, bro. That's all they do. They only lead us into hell because they're not speaking from the word of God. They're only speaking from their own ass. Excuse my French. You're like, I'm seriously, because I've been there. It's like some pastors I've noticed they don't deserve to be a pastor. Like, why would I go to a whole school for 4 to 6 years to become a pastor? To me, that shit sounds dumb. It sounds kind of like a trick. It's like
Yeah.
it's like I gotta sit down, going to church, listen to a guy who had a degree. It doesn't make any sense, bro. Like I could preach, I could read the whole Bible for a whole year over and over again, bro. And then next thing you know, I got a revelation from God. It's like, hey, I want you to preach. Go out there and preach. This is how you preach. You don't go to school to preach the word of God. You go, if you go, if a pastor go to school, man, like it's just I'm getting tired of pastors. Like the pastor church I go to, the pastor, um, that the pastor I listen to, he didn't go to school, nothing, right? He was just like he's like one day he's like here's my revelation, here's my goal, here's my this is what I feel like, oh, this is what God tells me, right? But sometimes you really gotta be careful with that. Some people will say, God tell me to do this. It's not God sometimes. Sometimes it's the devil, you know what I'm saying? Because the devil knows the Bible more than we do, which is crazy. And then and I think that's the problem with churches, because there's so many spiritual leaders who lack or don't have full understanding how to lead a group of congregation or people in the church, because it's all about superficial, or having nice things, driving a nice car, having a big house, having so much money. And there was a one thing I saw, like a pastor literally was floating from his mega church.
Oh, with the black pastor?
This dude was floating, bro. And I realized that, wait, there's no way this dude can be flying. There's no way he's probably
He's like, he's going,
and
he's
everybody
like
was going
floated.
crazy. I was like, yo, this is not real. This
It's,
is
it's
this
just
is
so
all
much
for show.
fanatic. Like, it's just so much show, like for show.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't like about the church, just to stay on this tangent for a little. One thing I really don't like about the church is that the church seems so much for show, with the nice clothes, with the nice sounding words, with
The
the nice,
music,
yeah, the nice music,
the
the,
lights.
the niceties of conversation, like the analog type of conversations that you have with people at church. You don't really get that deep. I feel like you never really get that deep with nobody, and I don't know. There's something very suspicious to me about the niceties of the world. Anything that is surface level nice, but doesn't go that deep, to me, seems like it has a bit of like a shallow or like a demonic overtone. When it's just like the top level conversation, when you're not really trying to connect with someone, it just seems like there's still this demonic overtone. Like there's still almost like this onus of judgment that you're putting on the person. And like you're saying, church is all about judgment. Um, the I think it's a good segue too from what you were saying, because I think it will probably be helpful to understanding what is a spiritual leader, understanding what an ill-spirited leader would be.
Mm,
So like what do you, if you just off the top of your head, what are the worst leadership qualities that someone can have?
I think character, right? Because if you don't have a good character, and because you can literally tell off the bat when a pastor is preaching, you can totally tell if he's overly speaking and or going not making sense, right? So to answer your question first, the most ill spiritual leader of anybody who think they can preach or be able to save others is if they dress up, bro. If you dress up and then I'm seeing you driving a Mercedes Benz or a Corvette at the end of the service, bro, that is not like you shouldn't even be. Like a pastor who dress up and got chains all over his
Yeah.
waist, all over his neck, bro. He got watches, gold watches, man. You see his kids wearing gold too. I'm like, yo, this is not a pastor. This is not a spiritual leader.
Not a man of God.
This is not a man of God,
Yeah.
bro. The moment I see a pastor wearing jewelry, like you can wear a suit and tie, that's fine. But if it's Gucci, You know what I'm saying? Something is off, bro. If you're
Yeah.
wearing brand, that's the thing. That's the problem I see most pastors do, especially mega church. They're wearing brand stuff, bro. They're wearing what's his name, man? This is a black pastor, man. He's from Oklahoma. I forget his name. This dude was wearing like a watch and a gold chain. I was like, that thing was huge. I'm like, bro, you look like the dude from Flavor Flav, bro. Like
Mm.
literally, like dude was dressing up like Flavor Flav. I don't know if you all remember Flavor Flav, the rapper had a little show, and I think it was anyway. Um, I think that's the biggest red flag for me as a spiritual leader is you wearing chains and gold, and then your shoes is like I don't know your belt. You're showing your belt, no, bro.
Yeah.
The moment I seen that, I'm like, yo, something is off. Sometimes you really can't tell a fake spiritual leader as well because they be dressing like Bill Gates, just jeans and in a polo shirt. Those type of one that's you gotta be careful with these ones because those ones are trickery to even tell. You know, they might be able to talk and speak the word of God. But behind closed doors, they got a little skeleton going on. Sometimes you gotta be careful. But the only reason I can tell them a difference though, when I try and tell them, hey, you know, when you try to criticize them, they get angry and upset. The moment a spiritually get angry, because you're not supposed to get angry and upset as a spiritual, you're supposed to be a mediator or understand like why is this person coming at me for? Like you know, you shouldn't even be thinking about it coming at me. You know, it's like okay, so let me hear you out. So you don't think I'm doing good, but most pastors they hold that criticism to a point where the next Sunday that comes in, they start talking about you. You know what I'm saying? They start bashing about you, start talking trash about you.
They start having a sermon that's like, some people just don't understand that the
Yeah.
word of God is spoken
Yeah,
and
like,
it is not
dude,
questioned.
it is
Like,
crazy to me. Like, bro, like it shouldn't. I'm telling you guys, I think we are idolizing these fake spiritual leaders, and it's only gonna lead us to a darkest path
mm,
that it's not gonna. We're not growing. I truly believe that we're not growing in church. I don't think, as you know, the church is the house of God. Okay, church is our house of God. And who are the leaders? The pastors, and whoever the leaders is the deacon board, the person who's leading the assistant pastor, the youth pastor, right? But if the head of the pastor is not leading the right way, that means everybody else. It's like having an apple, right? Or a bad apple in the tree. The whole apple in the tree is gonna go bad as well because it's not because it's passing its negativity. It's spreading his negativity because that's
mm,
how energy is. Energy is if I have six friends, right, and I'm being so negative in the circle, all those six other friends that I have, they're all gonna change. They're gonna take my energy, my negative energy. They're also gonna be negative. They're not gonna be none of us gonna be able to lead each other. We're only gonna lead each other to chaos, to destruction.
mm.
You know, we don't or to the wrong path. We're not gonna success. We're not gonna succeed. We're not gonna grow. I think that's the main issue with spiritual leaders is they're not growing the church. They're not growing the people. You understand where I'm coming from, y'all? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's
no,
just crazy, yo. That's why I've noticed that even in the small churches, it's praising the pastors, yo. Like spiritual leader, bro. I'm gonna tell you what the three main point of being a spiritual leader, all right, is be humble. You gotta be able to humble yourself, man. That's when you can have true leader, true spiritual leader, even if it's not a leader from management, whatever. If you're humble yourself, right, and you're not thinking anything like you're not boasting about like, oh, you know what? I'm a pastor. I got this type of degree. I know I'm driving this type of car. I got Gucci going on. In my whole family, we live in a huge house, 6 to 8 bedroom. We live in a nice white neighborhood. You know, like you gotta humble yourself, bro. Like most pastors that I've met, you know, they humble. They are humble. I'm not saying all pastors are like that. There's some pastors, a few pastors I would say that I've known for. You know, they drive a nice car, live in a nice home, but they're humble. They're not out here boasting. They're not out here. When I mean that, it's just you're not coming out here dressing with suit and tie, and then you got a whole Gucci belt, showing a belt, and a nice watch. You spend like 5 to 10K, right? You know. And then second, bro, like the most important thing, like second is um humble. Oh yeah, and what do you, kindness, right? You gotta be kind. You gotta be nice to others, right? You gotta treat others with respect, right? And you not because if I see an ex-con come to my church, right? Immediately, no, you're gonna know because the way he dressed, right? The tattoo in his face, or tattoo in his arm, you know what I'm saying, and probably still repping whatever he used to rep when he was in chill or when he before that, right? Right? You gotta be kind to him. You gotta be, hey man, how you doing? You're like, you gotta be able to not be scared. There's a lot of scared uh pastors, right? Who when they see a man who just get out of jail, fresh out of jail, come to church, trying to change his ways, trying to change his life, trying to be devoted to God, right? And they get scared. They're afraid to approach him because he got tattoos and things. Like, you're not supposed to judge him because of his appearance. And I think that's most pastor that does it. They judge a man or a woman who came from out of jail. They're like, oh, I can't help this person, right? But you gotta be kind to them. You gotta approach them in a certain way. Be like, hey, how you doing? My name is Pastor so and so. You know, like, don't even talk about about God to them. Be like, just check on them, see how they doing. Tell them thank you for coming to our church. I want you to invite you to we have a get together next Sunday after service, whatever the case is, right? So you want to get them. You don't be kind to them. You don't want to judge them, right? And last but not least, right? Obviously, we already know that he's being a leader. Like, you cannot be humble and kind and then not being a leader. Like, you gotta have these three qualities, man. So leadership, that's the problem with every corporate world that I've worked at, right? There is no leadership in anywhere I worked at. It's always being a boss. It's
Mm.
always overly they'll exertly authority, like their authority, it's like a hierarchy pretty much, right? It's like, oh, I'm your boss. I'm telling you to do this. It's like, okay, if I have an employee and he's not doing the work I'm asking him, I'm not gonna accept my authority over him. I'm gonna talk to him. I need to figure out, okay, why does he want to do it? What's going on? Is he going through something at home, or is he just not feeling well? He's just maybe he's just there's some people that I've known are just pretty much like they they're already outgrown their position. They want something new. You get what I'm saying? Like, you need to understand your people, man. I think that's the most churches don't understand their people. They don't understand, like, if somebody come to church every Sunday for 5 to 10 years, bro, like, okay, they could give money every Sunday or every month or every week, whatever. But if you're not giving back to them, bro, like, I think that's when churches are gonna go down, bro, because people's gonna start realizing, hey, I've been giving $200-300 every month for 5 to 10 years. That's a lot of money if you do the math. But the pastor doesn't even care. It's all about the money. It's all about whatever it is, right? But like I said, guys, the two qualities to being a spiritual leader: humbleness, kindness, and being a great leader. Know how to lead a team. Know how to lead your people, Brandon, because that's what Jesus did. He lead a whole. How many disciples? 12.
Mm.
12 disciples. Yeah, he led a whole 12 men, bro. Man, he didn't had no idea who they were. They were strangers at this point. One of them be like, yo, bro, you can't be the Messiah. Man, get out of my face. It's just like, they're like, all right, man, let me show you, man. Because God, Jesus himself was kind. He was humble. He wasn't like, yo, I'm the most powerful man. I am the son of God. He didn't come off like that. He's like, guys, my name is Jesus. Let me help you. Damn, but like, help me on what? See that you're struggling getting some fish. You know what I'm saying? Like, those the fishermen, they were struggling to get fish. Guys, like, I got you, guys. Let me help you, bro. Like, putting yourself for being selfless. This. I think that's the fourth. I should say this. Being selfless, like caring for others and putting yourself there for others. I think that's the most beautiful, amazing quality you could have as a leader, is being selfless and understand, like, hey, this person is struggling. Let me come help them, right? So I think I so with your question is, watch out for these pastors with driving nice cars and having gold chains in the neck in the race. That's something I truly avoid. That's why I've met a couple of pastors like that who wear gold earrings and stuff like that, big earrings. I'm like, damn, bro. I try to avoid pastors like that, especially when they talk too much, going to a tangent. That's something I don't really truly do, honestly. I don't know if you
Yeah,
ever met anybody.
yeah. I mean, I would definitely I would add to the list too of I think it's the perfect list already because those three things, like, so humbleness, humility, um, what was the second one you said?
Kindness.
Kindness and leadership quality. I think those three. What I would add to number four would be empathy.
Mm,
So being not just a spiritual leader, but any leader, because we can just start there, right? Just being a leader, you need to be empathetic and you need to be able to connect and put yourself in the shoes of others, especially the people who you're leading. Like you're saying, like the church doesn't know the people, they don't know the people that they're leading. One of the most dangerous leaders is a non-empathetic leader, or like maybe like a sociopathic leader, right? So like this is the kind of person who has little to no empathy, who has a very difficult time relating to the situations and livelihoods of others. That's a very dangerous person to put in leadership because they will just step over anyone because they only see the end goal. They don't see what they're stepping on. You know, the next thing I would say would be accountability. Accountability, number five. I think that's one of the most important leadership qualities. What I notice in the business world of America and the West is that our leaders lack these last two. They lack all five of them, really, but especially these last two, because in America, it's such a competitive, cutthroat kind of place that the people who naturally rise to the top in this environment are not very high on empathy, because they don't really give a shit about if people are doing good or not. And accountability wise, they've done everything they can to be blameless,
mm,
because that's usually how you rise to the top in your career. You pin it on someone else, or you say, "Oh, it wasn't my fault that the facts didn't come in. It wasn't my fault that the spreadsheet didn't get submitted. This person didn't get me the right thing." A leader needs to be accountable for himself and his team and everything. And this is gonna sound jaded, but everything that happens that he even has no control over, that even he has no control over. And I know that sounds crazy, but the thing is, if you're a leader, you need to make sure that you are taking accountability for everything, no matter what's happening, because no better way to, there's no better mindset to have and no better way to lead than saying, we are in control of everything. If something messes up, it's on me because I could have done a better job. Anything else, you're just going to be like, look at your team and discourage them. Hey, you didn't do this right. Hey, why don't you go there? Hey, why didn't you say this? Why don't you write that? Why don't you submit this? If you're not a highly accountable person, I would say step away from a leadership role, because if you're the kind of person who, when something goes wrong, when you take criticism from someone not liking your sermon, that you start attacking them or you start putting it on someone else, you are not a strong leader. That is an ill-spirited leader for sure. Um, though I think so. You said for ill-spirited leader too. So you said vanity, like chains, having all that stuff, and then
yeah.
also, what was the second thing you said?
Yeah. So having a big home,
Having
there's
a big
most.
home.
Yeah. It's like there's. You don't even know. I think the problem with pastors is there's a lot of people who are homeless in the church that comes to church. They don't even know that. There's a lot of homelessness that you can't even tell. I could tell by looking at people. Like people who are struggling, and you see this pastor living a $3 or $4 million home. I'm not trying to bash a pastor who, like, I don't understand how you just go every Sunday you're gonna preach. Like, what else do you got that you could be able to have a $4 or $5 million home? What is it that you're working on? You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Because if spiritual leader, right, if you're gonna be in a spiritual position, shouldn't you just focus, like, only? I mean, yeah, you could have multiple jobs in stream. I don't know. They could probably be doing some side work. Who knows? I don't know. But I really doubted that they that $4 or $5 million. I doubt it's coming from their pocket,
I've never met a preacher with another job.
huh?
I've never met a preacher with another job
That's
or
what
like a
I'm saying.
side
I've
hustle.
only met just going to church every Sunday and preaching. That's it.
Yeah.
So where's the extra 1-2 millions coming from? Where's
Where's the
that coming?
Benz? Yeah, where's the Benz car note coming
I'm
from?
like, there's no way every Sunday you're getting $1 million just to come to just to come
Yeah.
to church.
Oh no, I remember the other thing you said too was if they're quick to anger, if they
Yeah.
get angry with you fast, the worst person to lead. Because I really think one of the best things that I like to
Explosive.
do is when we're trying to figure out good qualities, a lot of times it's easier instead of trying to figure out exactly what we need to do, figure out what we don't need to do.
Mm,
And then by the process of elimination, you start to figure out, okay, this is what we need then. If you cross out everything you don't need, it's pretty easy to just fall in the right place. Yeah, the ill-spirited leader, the worst. Let's describe, let's take some time right now. Let's describe the worst leader that you could have. So they're vain, they like material things too much. They're quick to anger.
yeah.
I would say they're jealous. I would say
Oh,
jealousy,
jealousy is big, yo.
jealousy and
Oh my
competitive.
god, and that's the worst thing to
If you're
have.
if you're very competitive as a leader, I understand the business world of America has sort of warped people's perception on what leadership is and industry is in terms of competition and like industry leaders. But you need to be so fucking careful if your leader is jealous, because I'm telling you, jealousy, there's no lines in jealousy. All the lines are
Yeah,
blurred. You're jealous of the competitors. You're going to be jealous of your own teammates too. You're going to be looking at your own team like, oh, they think they're better than me. They think they're going to take my position. They think they're going to get promoted or something above me.
yeah. I was one of those guys where I was going to this church. I'm not gonna say, but my family stopped going anyway, so I'm gonna say, I'm not the type of guy. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah,
Like,
don't never no. Let's never shout out no one on
yeah,
the pod. They
I'm not
don't
gonna do that.
deserve it.
I remember I was in a church for, I like the church. Then our pastor retired. They put this guy on. It was just even beforehand. There was so many jealousy going on because he thought I was gonna take his position as a pastor. That was even my idea. Like it didn't even cross my mind though. That was the funniest thing ever. To a point where he started coming at me, and I think there was like a field trip that we were supposed to go to. And I think I was at the time I was 24, I believe, or 25. And then I think he was jealous because I mean, yeah, I'm not, like I said, I gotta be humble, right? But I'm gonna say it. I was a good looking dude back then. You know what I'm saying? Like I was fly. Yeah, I was coming in fly in this church, and then this dude, all the women, were coming at me, married or no married, right?
The married women, a lot of
But
single women in church, man.
even my kids, even with women that have kids are coming at me, and I could sense the jealousy from this dude, because he didn't want me to take over because everybody, all the members, they literally like, yo, I like this guy, which is me, like Mo, like they I go by Marty everywhere because people can't pronounce my first name. But yes, it was just to a point where there was a lot of jealousy going on, and I didn't understand, and I felt it too because the way he was coming at me, it was just to a point where he thought he was better than me, smarter than me because he went to school, got a whole degree. I'm like, but you don't even know me like that, dude. I'm
Yeah,
like, I
he's
could
like,
care less.
I'm an accredited Bible scholar.
Yeah, bro.
That's the most. I've
Like,
heard that a couple times. Like,
there's some guys who will speak in a way because they got a whole degree or speak in a different articulate way. Like, yeah, like they'll stop putting this vocab throwing at you. Like they think they're smarter than you or can speak better than you. And I was like, I could kill it. I'm like, I didn't come here just to for you to battle out to battle. Who got the better vocab, bro, or who's smarter, man. Like it was just crazy. This dude was coming at me to a point. I remember I was invited to go to a field trip, and I didn't even know. And then there was, I didn't even know there was gonna be a lot of women and girls up there. He's like, man, because I have a demeanor of a. I hate saying that. I have a demeanor of like me like a gangster, right? But I don't even look like it. I think I kind of intimidated him, obviously, And he was like, I just want to let you know, there's been a lot of um dudes who's just like looking at girls and
he came up to you to say that.
yeah, bro. And he was a pastor. Oh, this was the craziest thing. I've never talked about this. I'm gonna talk about it because I wanted to say this to him. I'm like, why did you come at me and tell me that there's been a lot of what do you call it when yeah, he said there's a lot of pedophile too going on when young men go to church. You're looking at young girls, things like that. I'm like, what the fuck are you? Excuse my friend. I'm like, what are you talking about? I had to hold back because my brother and sister were there with me, and they're like, what the hell is going on? Why are they saying this to my little sister too? She was the smartest one. She's like, what is he talking about? You know, and then something in me just snapped. But at the same time, something in me was like, yo, I was gonna put my hands on this dude, literally, but I had to hold back. I literally hold all the anger that I have in me because I'm like, dude, I'm 23, 24 years old, bro. do I look like a pedophile, dude? Do I, bro? I got brothers and sisters with me right now, dude. You're saying, oh, just so you know, you go into this church, there's a lot of girls over there, a lot of women. Just be careful. I'm like, what the? Is he reading me because the way I was dressed and the way I looked, like the way I look, like that's why I used to come out going to church, like come, what I'm saying, like I'm like.
Shout out to you, Pastor. This nigga probably a weirdo if he's saying.
That's what I'm saying, and I knew this dude was jealous of me because I'm like, yo, I'm like, there was a couple of girls in this group was looking at me like this girl who took like, hey, invite me to her house because she's gonna have a cookout. But other than that, it was just to a point where I didn't understand why he was feeling so jealous. I'm like, bro, you got a whole wife, my dude. Why are you coming at me with this bullshit?
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It didn't make any sense, bro. I think the main problem with I think the worst spiritual leader, bro. It's like I think he said it. It's jealousy because the way I look, man, I had a fresh, I got a beard. He didn't have a beard. I get it, bro. You know what I'm saying? My shit was lined up, bro. You know. But damn, bro, like you gotta come at me. Dude. I wanted to tell him so bad, but I was like, I had to hold my tongue.
Mm,
I think there was because I didn't want to crush this dude. I didn't want to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let God handle. Sometimes you gotta let God handle somebody,
yeah.
bro. You can't be taking vengeance or trying to make people feel some type of way because. And another thing that he also said to accountability, some people don't understand. Like when you say some bullshit like that, you're really hurting the person. For me, it didn't really hurt me because I know I'm a good looking dude. I was about to, put my hands on this dude. I'm like, you calling me a pedophile? That's what I'm hearing right now because you only come at me. There's other 4 or 5 black kids and white kids who's like the same age as me. Why are you coming at me for it? You know what I'm saying? Why are you coming at me? It was just to a point. I'm like, and then when I went to that spot, all the girls that were they were in their 20s. So what the fuck this dude was talking about? I'm thinking like, okay, I'm thinking like, okay, there's gonna be like little girls. I'm like, dude, I like older women, right? I always, always have. I've never like girls younger than me. I don't care if she was 18, 19. For me, it's like 30, 40. I mean, that was me back then. I literally like older women because I was not because young girls in my age for me, they were childish back then for
Mm,
me. That was me. I was not looking for them, but I wasn't for looking for anybody at this point. I was looking to go to church, find God. That was my thing, bro. This dude came to me. I'm like, bro, really? And jealousy is huge when it comes to being true. You gotta be careful with people who are jealous of you, especially a pastor, because he's gonna think that he's gonna take you. He's gonna think you're taking his position, his
mm,
job, things like that. And that's just the type of pastors I don't mess with, man. I think for me, honestly, the worst spiritual leader will be some like he said it earlier, accountability, jealousy, and what was the third one that you mentioned?
um.
So jealousy, accountability. Um, Let me say this. Like not having empathy, right? Not be able to
Mm,
understand, not seeing like, oh, not realizing like maybe I shouldn't say that. You know, it's crazy, bro. Like sometimes you really gotta be careful, not judge somebody by the way he looks.
yeah. No, I'm gonna add to the list too. I would say someone who's not disciplined should not be a spiritual leader. So someone who's not disciplined, someone who has any sort of addiction, kind of addictions, because those will call them in the wrong direction, and
Right.
they'll betray their leadership role to you. Um, Discipline is important because with discipline comes a lot of other mindset, uh, sort of like securities, right? And it comes a whole demeanor, and it comes with discipline comes a certain energy that like, exudes from you, right? People can tell when you're disciplined. They literally can just tell. It might be like a byproduct of just your appearance, just because you're so disciplined, but take in consideration when you're not disciplined, people can tell that too. They can tell by how you speak to them, by how you carry yourself, and even probably just your energy or whatever. But seriously, if your leader is not disciplined, he's gonna disincentivize the rest of your team from being disciplined. As a leader, what I always try to come across as is I need to work just as hard, if not harder, than my lowest employee, right? My lowest teammate, my lowest follower. Because in the hierarchy of things, The only way you should ever be able to become a leader is if you started off at the bottom. I feel like this is the healthiest way to build leadership. And the difficult thing is that we don't really do that in the business world at all. What we do is we hire someone who's always been in a high position from Harvard or from MIT, who's just become like an accredited Bible scholar and has never really gone through the sticks with the soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Like most pastors, they didn't really go through the shit that most people's in churches has gone through. Not going through the same kind of fun. If you went to think about this, right? If you went to school, I'm not trying to keep talking about the church, but this is a good example. If you went to school to be a fucking pastor, bro, like you're not struggling because you're not thinking about money. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh yeah, let me go to be a pastor, bro. Like that sounds crazy to me. You gotta have no mindset or no conception of like, I need to get a job, like a paying job. If you go to school to be a pastor, odds are, if you went to school to be a pastor, you have not lived through any sort of difficulty or serious hardship, at least financially, maybe emotionally or whatever. But I'm willing. The key is like when you're a leader, you want to really emphasize and connect with the experiences of the people you're following, or you're gonna have a difficult time knowing what they need best. That's like when the West goes into a third world country and tells them like, "Oh, just do this, this, and this with your politics. Oh, just eat this food. Oh, go and just start doing this stuff." They don't know what those people need because they haven't lived how those people have lived, you know. And when you don't know a person's struggle and you haven't experienced it personally, it's next to near impossible to know how to really, really help them in a way that will be life changing, not just temporary. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Discipline is a big one. Let's say discipline is a big one. If someone's not disciplined, if someone is if someone is vengeful, I guess that comes with like hate, like
Hatred.
hatred, jumping fast and
Yeah.
stuff. If someone's vengeful, if someone's petty, um, yeah, I would say that's a big one too. I think you guys probably have a pretty good outline of what it means to be a bad leader. In terms of good leadership qualities, you need to be patient, I would say. Patience. So anything you can just translate it into pros and cons list. So impatience, ill-spirited leader. Patience. If your leader is not patient, you'll have a very difficult time because results, especially ones worth achieving, goals worth achieving, don't come fast. And someone who's not patient is very, uh, what's the word? Like unsettling. If someone who's leading you, if you get even just the vibe, even if just by how they're talking, they're like and they're moving around so fast and they seem like frantic, and you're in subconscious, you're like, that person's in charge. You feel uneasy,
Yeah.
you feel unsettled, and that's why you have to, as a leader, especially as a spiritual leader, you need to take the time to be alone for some time and to settle and ground yourself so that you're able, because it's a privilege. Like it's a privilege to lead somebody. You know, it's a privilege. I think another quality I would say in a good spiritual leader is they are proud to be leading people, you know, and they're thankful to be leading people. Most leaders are like, you guys should be thankful that you have me leading you. But you should really, as a spiritual leader, you should be thankful that God put you in a position to lead others and gave you that power, you know. The worst thing that you don't want to see, back to the cons list, is a ill-spirited leader who is power hungry, right? Like the pastors, like it's like when you see someone who's going to take your position and you're power hungry. When you see someone getting all the attention from the girls and you're like, oh, you're like, that should be me. I'm the pastor. I'm the one preaching the word of God. They should be loving me, you know. And that power hungriness, super dangerous in leadership. Super dangerous in leadership. It's what leads to Western countries that put God on the back burner. Um, Leadership is a privilege, and it's not something most people are deserving of, you know. And the crazy thing is, I feel like almost by design, the West has put ill-spirited leaders, ill-spirited celebrities, ill-spirited influencers which are all just different forms of leaders, in positions of power and fame and glory in the masses because they recognize that if your leader is unstable, if your leader has mental health issues, if your leader is sick, like diseased like that psychologically, that will, like the bad apple, that will trickle down and it will just contaminate the rest of the tree. Um,
Bro, you just, I don't know, I was listening to you and you said something really important. Because if a pastor goes to school to become a pastor, you don't really, you never went through any of the struggles. You never went through the hard times.
I'm saying,
I mean, you were already financial. You had the money to go to school to become a pastor. I mean, you weren't to be, you were never meant to be a leader in the first place, because leadership comes out to be a man who went through a lot, who experienced a lot from the bottom, who went through the darkness of times, who were homeless, poor, broke, went through, like, had addiction going on. And now I'm starting to see that these pastors who goes to school, it's like, why are we even following them? Because a spiritual leader is gifted from God. A spiritual leader is anointed. It's something that because of the experience that you went through over the years as a child into an adult. I never see it like that, honestly, but I think now I'm starting to noticing that pastors go to school, man. He's already well off.
mm,
How can you afford to go to school to become a pastor? A pastor, to become a pastor, it has to go. You have to go through a death experience in your life at one time, or some deep shit in your life. And that's the only way I will follow somebody who went through so much, who who had nothing at all. Nothing at all, bro. He was abandoned. His parents abandoned him. He had to go through from one job to another. He had to get fired. He had to be outcasted because he was different. But if you're a pastor, you're going to school to become a pastor or a leader, bro. Step down, bro. You can't teach, my dude.
mm,
You're not meant to teach. You're not meant to guide. You're not meant to lead, bro. Like, I'm about to say it, man. Like, if you're a pastor who went to school, man, I don't care if you're making money, but you gotta step down, because you're only leading your people to chaos. You're only leading people into hell. That's all you're doing, because it's you making them idolize you. You're making them feel like, oh, you're literally preaching the word of God, but you're not.
bring it closer.
You know what I mean? Like, you just gotta be careful, guys. Like, I don't understand. Now I'm starting to seeing it now, because that's the reason why I took 3 to 5 years to go back to church. It took me a long time because of what happened, and I was called a pedophile. I was called people were hated, jealousy. That was a problem, because like, yeah, I said it earlier. I was a good looking dude, but I was just going to church because I was just looking to find God. Because I was like, I went through a lot, like, not I went through so much. Like, that's a story for another time, honestly. But at the same time, you really gotta understand, for a man to lead or to be a leader, you have to understand yourself, your identity for who you are as a man. If you don't understand yourself and who you are as a man, because going through a lot, going through what you went through over the 10, 20 years, it taught you a lot, not only to be a leader, but also taught you accountability,
Mm,
and it taught you how to be selfless and caring, right? Empathy. Because now you don't want to see another person go through what you went through. You don't want your family to go through what you went through, right? Because you're gonna be better. You're gonna change that, right? You're gonna break that generational curse over the years. That's what you've been through. You gotta understand, guys. Sometimes the world is not friendly with us. It's not a beautiful world we live in. It's not. There's a lot of people's gonna judge us, especially our brown skin, light skin, and dark skinned people out there. If you are listening, man, you gotta understand. We're leading. We're literally following the wrong leader right now. That's what we're doing. We're literally listening to the negative things on TV, in churches, and wherever that we are going. You need to be able to listen to a self development, some type of read something that's gonna make you a better leader, because the leadership is not somebody who's born with it. It's through experience. It's through
Mm.
life experience. You need to understand that if you didn't go through the hardships in life, bro, ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, if you didn't go through any of that stuff, I'm telling you, and they put you in a position to lead others, step down, because you can't even take criticism. You can't even be accountability. You can't even be honest. You can't even be selfless. You just want to be a boss because you have this position of hierarchy. You want to feel like you want to exert that authority over people. You need to step down. People been, I went to my last job I was at. I left and I put my resignation. You know, the leader, the manager didn't even come and speak to me. The one that hired me in the first place. He stayed in his office until I was gone, which is
Like
a
a bitch.
like a little bitch, bro.
Like a bitch was
Like a
different.
it was just crazy. Like, I ain't trying to speak in in certain way like that, guys. I'm just trying to. It was I was so pissed. I wasn't even sad. I was just angry and upset because it taught me what true leadership is about, and that wasn't it. A
Mm.
true leader will come and talk to his employee or anyone that you're leading or teaching. Be like, hey, what's going on? I heard you're leaving. I heard you put your resignation. Let's talk it out. Let's talk. Let's sit down and talk. There's so many bitch ass leaders in this country. So many fake ass wannabe leaders in this country. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're yellow. I don't care if you're white. If you didn't go through the life experience, you didn't go through homelessness, you didn't go through being an addict in your life, and you overeating and then overcome it, bro. You don't talk. I don't care. You go to. I don't. Yeah, education is yeah, whatever. I feel like education is a whole scam, putting you into debt, brainwash, making you feel dumber, making you feel like an employee. You will never amount to anything if you're in a leader role and then you just here to control people.
Mm.
You'll never ever. This is the reason why there's so many turnovers at any job, even in churches. There's so many turnover on people, right? And it's just ridiculous. I don't know, guys. We need to put a stop to this,
Yeah.
yo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No. Thank you guys for watching. This has been a great episode. Seriously, seriously, leadership is no joke. Leadership is no joke. To guide the people is a privilege. And if you haven't been through something, man, I don't know how you can guide others to go through the same thing. But no, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let us know your video topic ideas in the comments down below. And honestly, just give us your guys' feedback. If you guys want to put down below what qualities, what characteristics you think a great leader should have. If we missed any, comment them down below, okay? But we'll see you guys soon.
Peace.
Peace.